You hear about the cloud all the time, right? We're told our photos, our emails, our entire digital lives, they're all just floating around in the cloud. It sounds so simple, so weightless, maybe even a little bit magical. But here's the thing, the cloud isn't in the sky. It has a physical address. And in this explainer, we're gonna go find it. And that's really the big secret, isn't it? The cloud isn't some ethereal concept. It has a real physical home. We're talking about a sprawling global infrastructure of absolutely colossal buildings just humming with millions of servers, and all of them consuming an unbelievable amount of power. This isn't just a metaphor. This is the actual nervous system of our entire internet economy. So, okay, if it's not floating around up there, then where the heck is it? Let's pull back the curtain and find the real physical address of our digital world. First things first, we have to completely shatter this myth. The cloud is not some invisible force field. It lives right here on planet Earth, inside enormous, heavily guarded buildings that are basically the fortresses of our digital age. So let's take a look inside one. This is where it lives, inside a data center. The best way to think of these is as the physical vaults for our digital lives. These are buildings designed for one thing and one thing only, to house all the computer systems, all the storage drives, and all the networking gear that make up the literal backbone of the internet. And when you get inside one of these fortresses, you find the vital organs of the internet. You've got the servers, those are the brains of the whole operation. You've got the storage systems, which are the memory. Then there's the networking gear. Think of it as the arteries, pumping data all across the globe. And just as critical, you have the life support systems, massive power grids and huge cooling units running 24/7 to keep the whole thing from, melting down. And all of it is under constant, heavy, multi-layered security. And the scale we're talking about here is just mind-boggling. Get this, a single one of the largest data centers, the industry calls them hyperscale facilities, can chew through as much electricity as a small city. That really puts into perspective the immense physical resources our digital world actually runs on. So, who actually builds and operates these incredibly critical facilities? Well, it's time to meet one of the internet's most important, but maybe most invisible landlords, a company called Digital Realty. Digital Realty's story is pretty fascinating. They basically rose from the ashes of the dot-com bust back in 2004, very cleverly buying up these mission-critical buildings. But two huge moves really made them the titan they are today. In 2017, they bought a company called DuPont Fabros, which gave them a massive ability to serve the biggest cloud clients. Then, in 2020, they made another game-changing move, acquiring Interaxion, a European powerhouse, to really get a grip on the world of interconnection. So what is it that they actually sell? Well, it's a whole range of things. It can be as simple as what's called colocation, which is basically just renting out a secure rack with power and cooling for a company's servers. Or they can provide a powered shell. That's a ready-to-go building just waiting for a big client to move their own tech in. And for the biggest players on the planet, they'll build an entire custom data center from the ground up. But Digital Realty is definitely not alone at the top. They are locked in this fierce head-to-head battle for dominance with another giant in the space, a company called Equinix. And honestly, this rivalry is what's shaping the very foundation of the internet as we know it. And this really breaks down their completely different strategies. On one hand, you have Digital Realty, who is all about scale. They build these gigantic campuses with just enormous amounts of power for the hyperscalers. Your AWS, your Google, your Microsoft. But Equinix, on the other hand, is all about density. They create these bustling digital marketplaces where thousands of different businesses can directly connect to each other. It creates this powerful network effect. So it's really the ultimate showdown, pure scale versus network density. So what is driving this just explosive, seemingly insatiable need for more and more data centers? Let's zoom out a bit and look at the huge technological shifts that are just pouring fuel on this fire. Okay, so there's this really cool concept you need to understand called data gravity. Think of it like this. Once a massive amount of data, a truly huge amount, gathers in one physical place, it starts to act like a planet. It naturally pulls in more applications and more services that need to get to that data really, really fast. This creates a powerful gravitational pull, making these data center hubs incredibly valuable and super sticky. They become the center of their own digital universe. So what's the biggest driver? Well, no surprise, it's the relentless expansion of the big cloud giants. That's about half the demand right there. But right behind them is this huge wave of digital transformation. Basically, every company on Earth moving more and more of its operations online. And then, layered on top of all that, you have this data tsunami coming from all the emerging tech. We're talking AI, 5G, the Internet of Things, all of it just hungry for more processing power. All right, so where is all this headed? What does the future actually hold for the physical internet? Well, this industry is facing some absolutely monumental challenges, but at the same time, some incredible opportunities. Let's break those down. Okay, so the big challenges are pretty clear. First, how do you manage that city-sized power consumption in a way that's actually sustainable? And second, how do you deal with the insane competition? But then you look at the opportunities, and they are huge. There's edge computing, which is all about building smaller data centers closer to where we are to power things like 5G. And then, of course, there's the massive landscape-shifting opportunity to power the next generation of AI and to be the company that really pioneers the green, sustainable data centers of the future. So as our world gets more and more digitized, the demand for these physical homes for our data is only going to grow. The real question we're left with is, in this incredibly high-stakes race between giants like Digital Realty and Equinix, who is ultimately going to win the right to build the foundation for our digital future?